Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari 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 Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari 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 Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jai Radha Madhava Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jai Radha Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yashodanandana Jayo Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jaya Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajikacharya Shotara Shota Shishimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada and Sachimad. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today was on the schedule like Akhilananda Prabhu, I think, Prabhupada's disciple, to give class, but he's sick, so I'm kind of replacement. And we are continuing with the fourth canto of Bhagavatam, chapter 24, text 47 and 48. But we will read just 47 on the board, and then later also in English. Priti Prahasita Pangam Alakai Rupashobitam Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka Dukalam Mrishta Kundalam Priti Prahasita Pangam Priti Prahasita Pangam Alakairupa Shobitam Alakairupa Shobitam Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka Dukkalam Rishta Kundalam Dukkalam Rishta Kundalam Priti Prahasita Pangam Alakairupa Shobitam Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka Dukkalam Rishta Kundalam. Prabhus? Priti Prahasita Pangam Alakairupa Shobitam Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka Dukulam Rishta Kundalam
Priti Prahasita Pangam
Priti Prahasita Pangam
Alakairupa Shobitam
Alakairupa Shobitam
Pankaja Kinjalka
Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka
Dukulam Rishta Kundalam
Dukulam Rishta Kundalam Priti Prahasita Pangam Alakairupa Shobitam Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka Dukulam Rishta Kundalam Priti Prahasita Pangam Alakairupa Shobitam Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka Dukulam Rishta Kundalam. Priti Prahasita Pangam Alakairupa Shobitam Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka Dukulam Rishta Kundalam Prishti Prahasita Pangam Alakairupa Shobhitam Lasat Pankaja Kinjalka Dukulam Rishta Kundalam. Priti Prahasita Pangam Alakairupa Shobhitam Priti, merciful. Prahasita, smiling. Apangam, sidelong glance. Alakai, with curling hair. Rupa, beauty. Shobhitam, increased. Lasat, glittering. Pankaja, of the lotus. Kinjalka, saffron. Dukulam, clothing. Mrishta, glittering. Kundalam, earrings. Translation. The Lord is super excellently beautiful on account of his open and merciful smile and his sidelong glance upon his devotees. His black hair is curly and his garments, waving in the wind, appear like flying saffron pollen from lotus flowers. His glittering earrings, shining helmet, bangles, garland, ankle bells, waist belt, and various other bodily ornaments, combined with conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower, to increase the natural beauty of the Kaustuba pearl on his chest. Purport. The word Prahasita Panga, referring to Krishna's smile and sidelong glances at his devotees, specifically applies to his dealings with the gopis. Krishna is always in a joking mood when he increases the feelings of conjugal rasa in the hearts of the gopis. The conch shell, club, disc, and lotus flower can be either held in his hands or seen on the palms of his hands. According to palmistry, the signs of the conch shell, club, lotus flower, and disc mark the palms of great personalities and especially indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasti Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So text 47, 48 once again. Translation. The Lord is super excellently beautiful on account of his open and merciful smile and his sidelong glance upon his devotees. His black hair is curly and his garments, waving in the wind, appear like flying saffron pollen from lotus flowers. His glittering earrings, shining helmet, bangles, garland, ankle bells, waist belt, and various other bodily ornaments combined with conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower to increase the natural beauty of the Kaustuba pearl on his chest. So here in this verse we have a continuation of Lord Shiva's praising of Lord Krishna, and he's praising and describing his transcendental form and ornaments and so on. And we can say that this is something very specific in our Vedic culture or spiritual philosophy, that there is very detailed description of Lord's form. And every morning we also sing during the darshan the verse from Brahma Samhita, Venum Kvanantam Aravinda Dalayataksham Bharavatam Samasitam Bunda Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamham Bhajami. So in this verse we are actually praising the form of Lord Krishna and how he is here decorated with a peacock feather, how he has eyes like lotus petals, and has a bluish dark complexion, and how his body is transcendental, full of bliss and knowledge. And recently I heard from a friend of mine who was visiting Rome and Vatican that she visited the 16th chapel, this like medieval church or chapel, where is a very known picture of Adam and God on the ceiling. Maybe you know, they're like in this position, almost touching the index fingers to each other, and they're looking to each other. And God is presented by Michelangelo, I think, like an old man with a grey, long hair and beard. Maybe you have seen this picture. And this is actually kind of picture which he has in the mind, or which he had in the mind, how the God looks like. Because the God is like the oldest person, so it must have a grey hair and a grey beard. But on the other side, Vedic scriptures tell us that God is actually always young. He's now Yovanam. And even when Lord Krishna appeared in this world, and he spent 126 years, 5,000 years ago, it is said that even after 126 years he looked like 16-year-old young man. And the explanation of our acharyas and Srila Prabhupada is that actually Lord Krishna doesn't get old, because the material time influences material body to get old, like our body are getting old. But because he's the Lord of the material nature, the material time cannot influence him if he doesn't want. And we also heard that in the spiritual world, Lord Krishna always has a body of a young boy, like 12, 13, 15 years old. So this is one great, I would say, blessing which we have in our holy scriptures, that if we cultivate knowledge about God, we also get the information how the God looks like. And it's not just some theory, it's actually realization of great saints who had a darshan of Lord Krishna, and after the darshan actually they were able to write down his description. And we have heard that Srila Prabhupada had darshan of Krishna many times, and many previous acharyas had the darshan of Krishna many times. So, and also Srila Vyasadeva, who wrote this Srimad Bhagavatam, is actually incarnation of Lord Krishna, literary incarnation. So they actually knew that Krishna's form is real, and it looks like it is described in the Holy Scriptures. And to us, it is said that we can also realize this through chanting. not just by reading and imagining, but also by chanting, because through chanting, Lord Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes will be revealed to us in our heart. And I think each of us who chanted long enough in his spiritual life had the realization that holy name of Lord Krishna is not different from him. So if he felt spiritual connection with Lord Krishna and spiritual bliss and happiness, we actually realize that Lord Krishna's name is not different from him. Because this mercy is actually his mercy, which we can feel during the chanting. And then on the next step, slowly the Lord's form is revealed to us in the heart or in the mind. And or the form of the deity, that it's no different from Krishna, will be revealed to us. And then slowly we will realize more and more qualities of Lord Krishna. And then at the end, the pastimes. And if we study, for example, biographies of our previous acharyas, like Srinivasa Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, Shivananda Pandit, we can see that actually they had a very, very deep connection with their spiritual body, with their Swarup, or spiritual body, and in that body they could also realize Lord Krishna's pastimes while chanting, for example. And Prabhupada even said that when we advance enough in chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we will realize not only pastimes which he described in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, but we will realize also Krishna's pastimes which he never mentioned. This was Prabhupada's statement. And as we know, as we heard, pastimes of Lord Krishna are unlimited, and in that way this is actually possible. And sometimes in India we hear that there are also worshippers of Lord Shiva, and we also can see that there are worshippers of Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna, and we as Vaishnavas who are worshipping Lord Krishna or Vishnu, we are saying that Krishna or Vishnu is Supreme Personality of Godhead. While on the other side, people who are worshipping Shiva or Lord Shiva, they say actually Shiva is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And maybe the devotee of Lord Krishna can be confused. How is this possible? Because from these Shastras, if Lord Shiva is praising Krishna as a Supreme Personality, we accept that Krishna is actually the Supreme. There is also one story in one of the Puranas about one great demon or Asura, Vrikasura. And this demon was worshipping Lord Shiva in order to get blessing. And his idea was to get blessing or power that whoever head he touches with his index finger, his head will explode. So he had the idea to actually become kind of conqueror or to manifest some superior powers and destroy all his enemies. And he was doing very long time austerities in order to invoke Lord Shiva's darshan or blessing. And then at the end Lord Shiva appeared in front of Vrikasura, and he asked him, so what is your desire? What can I fulfill to you? And then Vrikasura said, I want to have this power. And then Lord Shiva said, okay, it's fulfilled. And then Vrikasura started to approach Lord Shiva like this, trying to touch his head. And then because Lord Shiva gave him this power, and he knew that it works, he became fearful, and then he started to run away. And Vrikasura started to run after him. And it is said that they were like running all around the universe. And then in one moment, Lord Shiva reached Lord Vishnu. I think on Shvetadvipa, that's one place in material world where Lord Vishnu resides. And he actually said what is his problem, that Vrikasura got his blessing and that now he is running after him and want to try this power on his head. And he asked actually Lord Vishnu for protection. And then Lord Vishnu said, no problem, you just hide here and I will speak with Vrikasura. And after a few moments, Vrikasura came and Lord Vishnu asked him, so what are you doing here? Whom you are searching for? And then he said, well, I am running after Shiva. I want to show him something. And then Lord Vishnu said, but why? What happened? And then Vrikasura said, well, I asked him for the blessing, and by this blessing I can blow up everyone's head, and I wanted also to try this power on him. And then Lord Vishnu said, but you know that Lord Shiva is actually a great joker, and he was just joking with you. It's not actually the real blessing. And then somehow Lord Vishnu made confused Vrikasura, and he actually inspired Vrikasura to try this power on his head, on his own head. So then Vrikasura said, okay, if this power actually doesn't work, then I will just touch my head. And then he touched his head and he died, of course, because the power worked. And on that way, Lord Krishna actually liberated Vrikasura and saved Lord Shiva. And through this story, actually, we can learn that Lord Shiva is actually subordinate to Lord Vishnu. And in this Purana, it is described that Lord Vishnu is like milk and Lord Shiva is like yogurt. Yes. And milk and yogurt are almost the same substances, only yogurt has a little bit different form. But the content is almost the same. And what is also interesting, yogurt we make from milk, not the opposite. So Lord Shiva actually has origin in Lord Vishnu. And our Vaishnava Acharyas also gave explanation that Lord Krishna has 64 main transcendental qualities, like compassion, beauty, wisdom, and many other qualities. And from these 64 qualities, or 100%, Lord Vishnu has 93% of Lord Krishna's qualities in full. And this is Vishnu Tattva, like Narayana, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, and so on. And Shiva Tattva has 84% of these 100% qualities of Lord Krishna. So this 84% Lord Shiva has in full from Lord Krishna's qualities. So he is like 84% Lord Krishna. So for some people who consider Lord Shiva as a god, they are actually on the good way, because who is close to Lord Shiva? A living entity are not so powerful. Only Vishnu, according to this, and Krishna are more powerful, and just a little bit more. So this is the reason why also devotees of Lord Shiva have a realization or faith that Shiva is very powerful. Because 84% to 100 is almost very close. And our Vaishnava Acharyas explain that Jiva, when develops fully all spiritual qualities in a liberated state, can develop 78% of Krishna's qualities in a very, very small degree. And it is said that Lord Brahma, who is a pure devotee, that he actually developed the 78% of Lord Krishna's qualities, but all in a small degree. So still big difference between even Jiva, who is fully developed and realized, and Lord Shiva. And our position as a Jiva is that we are actually marginal energy, and there are three main energies which are existing: Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. So Antaranga Shakti is internal energy of the Lord, which actually pervades spiritual world. And Bahiranga Shakti is actually energy of Maya, which creates material world, subtle and gross dimensions. And Bahiranga Shakti is governed by three modes of nature, by three gunas of material nature, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, or goodness, passion and ignorance. While on the other side, Antaranga Shakti, or internal energy of the Lord, is governed by also three energies, which are called Samvit, Sandhini and Hladini Shakti. So these are energies of bliss, of knowledge and eternity. And we as a Jiva, we can actually choose to live in the material world or in the spiritual world, in Bahiranga Shakti or Antaranga Shakti. And our free will actually can bring us to the material world, as Prabhupada said, where we can try to be the lords of material nature and everyone which surrounds us on certain way, or we can live in the spiritual world and be Lord Krishna's servant. And it is said that even when we are in the material world and we are trying to exploit the material nature and try to be the lords and enjoyers independently from Lord Krishna, we are also serving indirectly Lord Krishna, because we are influenced by his material energy, and by being influenced by material energy, we are actually serving material energy, and this is Krishna's energy. So in that way we are actually serving again, but indirectly. And as Prabhupada said, when we are in the spiritual nature, our spiritual qualities are fully awakened, and we're always happy, spiritually happy, full of knowledge, and we are eternal, we are not dying. While in the material nature, we are changing the bodies, we are getting sick. There is some happiness here and there, but we are also forgetting our previous life and our previous experiences, and we again need to be born if we don't attain spiritual perfection. And then again we need to learn how to walk, how to speak, how to go on the toilet. And we are wearing pampers for a few years because we are totally ignorant. We don't know anything, we don't know how to eat. So then again the same story. While in the spiritual world this doesn't happen. The soul actually serves Krishna eternally, and the spiritual bliss of the soul and realizations of Lord Krishna expands eternally. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita there is a verse, very known verse, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Beda Beda Prakash. So in this verse, Lord Chaitanya explains to Sanatana Goswami that Jiva, or the soul, is by nature eternal servant of God, and that the Jiva has same qualities as a God, but at the same time doesn't have that amount of these qualities as God. And then Prabhupada quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the purport, who explains that we, the Jiva, we are like the molecule in the sun ray, and Krishna is like a sun. So the sun ray and the molecule in the sun ray has the same quality like the sun, has the fiery qualities, but doesn't have a power of the whole sun. So this is actually an analogy which Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives, and which actually describes our position. And our fiery qualities or spiritual qualities are covered when we get subtle and gross material body in the material world. And on that way we actually forget our original Krishna consciousness or God consciousness. And the way to revive this God consciousness is actually a process of Krishna consciousness. And as Prabhupada said, by chanting holy name, even if you don't understand what is the language of the mantra, if you don't understand the meaning of the mantra will work. So the reviving of our original Krishna consciousness will take place sooner or later. And in this material nature we can get one of 8,400,000 different bodies. And this can be body of the fish, of the plant, of the insect, of the reptile, of the animal, and also body of the human being, and also some higher beings like angels and devatas. And from human form on, the person can actually understand, or the soul can understand, signs of God. And the soul can actually revive his Krishna consciousness or original spiritual consciousness. The problem in a human form of life is that we have many, many material impressions, even though maybe this is not the first human form we have. Maybe we had dozens and dozens of human forms in the previous lives, but the problem is that we have many material impressions by which we identify with the subtle and gross body. I am the man, I am the woman, I am the father, I am the mother, I am a gross father, I am student, I am electrician, I am this, I am that, or I am Swiss, I am Russian, I am American, I am Indian. So these are all actually false or temporary identifications, because they are just connected with this present life. But in the next life, when the soul changes the body, it will be some other identification, maybe some other nationality, maybe other gender, other occupation, and so on. So our real identity is actually that we are part and parcel of Lord Krishna. And our real occupation is that we are His eternal servants. And whatever we do in our life, either spiritually or materially, we can actually dedicate this to Lord Krishna. And on that way we can connect our consciousness with Him. And on that way we can actually have a spiritual benefit and spiritual realizations. And according to Vedic psychology, we have 3 parts of the subtle body. These are mind, intelligence, and false ego. But there is also one fourth element, which is also mentioned sometimes. This is subconscious mind. And in this subconscious mind, which is called Chitta, we have all possible impressions from this life and previous lives. And you know that some people can also do regression, and they can enter actually with their consciousness through different methods into this Chitta or subconscious mind, and they can remember many things from the past lives in detail. And everything what we have been doing in our past lives and this life created certain impression and maybe certain emotion connected with impression, and that emotion actually forces us to act on certain way and to think on certain way. And it is said that from this subconscious mind, tendencies are coming into the conscious mind. And then in conscious mind we have certain desires or thoughts, and then we are actually acting on the way to fulfill these desires. So actually the root of almost 90% of our behavior is in our subconscious mind. And the way to transform our subconscious mind is actually sadhana, or spiritual process, because by spiritual process or sadhana, we are actually making different imprint in our subconscious mind. So I will give example, like analogy. We can imagine that there is a water pond or pool, like outdoor pool, filled with water, but not cleansed or not cleaned for 50 years. So you can imagine how many dirt is inside, or leaves and branches and black color or brown color or green color everywhere on the walls, in the water. So it is said that polluted consciousness or material consciousness is like this water. And the way to clean this water is either to take out the water from the pond and then clean the walls and then put the new clean water, or to make a system with the filters and pumps which will move water from one side of the pool to the other side, and then water goes through the system of filters, gets purified, and gets out from the other side pure. And on that way, after some time, the whole water will pass through the filters and will be purified. And we will have clean water, and all dirt will stay in the filters. So it is said that for our consciousness it's not possible to do the first way. We cannot take all our impressions from distant past lives, put somewhere, and then put just Krishna conscious impressions and be pure devotee. But the second way is possible. And this system of filter, actually analogy of filter for the pool, is actually sadhana. Because when we sit and chant, or in absorption we sing holy name, or we do certain devotional service, we are actually creating spiritual impression by spiritual activity, which goes deep in our heart, in our subconscious mind, and then this spiritual impression actually transforms our material impressions. And if we have impressions in a tamaguna, in a rajoguna, then spiritual impression actually transform these material impressions into the higher mode, slowly, but gradually. And then if we practice sadhana every day, then slowly we are actually purifying all these material impressions which we have. Of course, devotees who are practicing in a previous life Krishna consciousness or some spiritual process, they already have also spiritual impressions. And they act differently than ordinary people. They're attracted to go to the temple, to read spiritual books, to practice spiritual activities, because they already have kind of taste for this. But most of the devotees have a mixed taste. We have mixed for material things and also for the spiritual things. And just by continuing to practice our sadhana and spiritual activities, actually material tendencies will decrease and spiritual tendencies will increase. And besides practicing our own sadhana for our own purification, we know that it's good also to share like chanting of the holy name with others and spiritual knowledge with others. And this is why actually Prabhupada inspired devotees to do Sankirtan, either in the temple, like singing together holy name during the morning program, evening program, or to go out also and sing publicly, so other people can also get the benefit of hearing of the holy name, or also get Prabhupada's books, spiritual literature, and get inspired to also practice spiritual life. And we know that 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya and his associates, like Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, they personally were going from door to door and asking people to chant holy name of Lord Krishna. And even though they were such exalted personalities, they also had sometimes problems, like we know in the story of Jaga and Madai, and Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur. So it's not that everyone is super inspired to chant holy name if we propose this. Many people will actually abandon this and abandon our association because they don't understand the value of spiritual practice. But this is actually very normal, because most of the people in the material world are actually not willing to revive their God consciousness. But those who revived already God consciousness, and they can see that spiritual happiness is much higher than material happiness, they are actually inspired to share this with others. Like, for example, if someone is inspired by eating certain chocolate, he will try also to share this chocolate with others and help them to experience the same taste and joy. And also when we share Krishna consciousness, we are actually getting deeper realizations. And I can give one example of mine. Some 10 years ago, I studied Vedic psychology in Pisa, in Centro Study Bhaktivedanta. And I was reading a lot and studying a lot by the help of Prabhupada disciple Matsyavatar and his books about the nature of subtle body. So it's really like deep Vedic psychology. And then I met in Sankirtan while distributing books in front of the university one student, and I asked her, "What do you study?" And she said, "I study psychology." It was like a state university. And then I said, "Okay, I also study psychology, but ancient Indian psychology. And can you please tell me what is the description of the soul in your studies? How the doctors of psychology describe the soul and all authorities you're studying?" And then she said, "Well, the soul is our inner part, our part who is thinking, feeling and willing. And I asked her, and what is the origin of that part which is thinking, feeling and willing. And then she said, well, according to what we have learned, the origin is actually, are chemical processes in the brain. And due to these chemical processes in the brain, consciousness is created, and this consciousness experience actually thinking, feeling and willing, or dreaming and all other states of consciousness. And then I said, okay, and what is happening when we die? And then she said, well, when we die, when actually the heart stops to beat and we stop breathing, then we don't have any more oxygen, so the chemical processes cannot function anymore in the body. So actually consciousness also does not exist anymore. And then I asked her, do you want to hear what is the explanation of ancient Indian psychology about this topic? And then she was listening, and then I explained a little bit different point of view. And I think I gave her some flyer or some small book also to read. And then I realized that actually some people study 4 years psychology, and just by reading, for example, one book of Srila Prabhupada and his logical explanations that the soul is different from the body and that the soul transpasses the death of the body and continues living, is much, much more valuable actually knowledge than the knowledge on the classical universities in the world. And at the end I would like just to narrate one story which confirms how by chanting names of Lord Krishna we are actually invoking His mercy. So the story is connected with the fruit seller from Mathura. And this was a lady who lived 5,000 years ago in Mathura, so quite nearby Vrindavan and Gokula, where actually Krishna was spending his pastimes, childhood pastimes. And her job or her service was to sell fruits like mangoes, bananas, and she was hearing from some people in Mathura that in Gokula there is one special boy, Krishna or Govinda, and that his face is very beautiful and charming, and that everyone should actually go and visit him and give him something. And then she was thinking, okay, I have these fruits and I have my farm, so I can give him fruits. And then she went one day to Gokula, and then she was searching after Krishna, and she was calling out, I'm selling fruits, 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 and she was meditating on Krishna. She wanted to find Krishna, but after a whole day she didn't find him. And he was not also at home or in the courtyard of his home, he was somewhere else. So the next day she came again to Gokula, and then she was searching again and calling out fruits, fruits, fruits. But again she was not successful. And then the third day she was thinking in the morning, okay, now I will go again and I will not return back if I don't find Krishna. And then she went, and because she had even more firm dedication, she was inspired actually to call out Krishna's names. Like she was searching after him more directly. So she was calling out Damodar, Krishna, Govinda. And she came also in front of his house, because she heard from the villagers where he lives, but he was also not there. And then she sat in front of the house, and she was meditating how she would like to have a darshan of him and see him and give him fruits. And then in one moment Lord Krishna actually appeared. And then it is said that she was totally enchanted by his also external appearance, but that she was also enchanted by the feelings she felt in the heart. And it is said Krishna had just like 2 years. He was like 2 years old, almost without any clothes. And he asked, "Can you give me some fruits?" And then she said, "Yes, I can give you, but you first need to give me something like as exchange." Yeah. And then he said, "Yeah, my father has a lot of grains in the storage." So he ran out to the storage of grains and he took a handful of grains, and then he was running toward the lady. And because he had very small hands and like he was not so skilly, his fingers were like separated, and then all grains actually fell down, and only few grains remained on his palm when he came to the fruit seller. And then he said, "Okay, I am giving you all these grains, can you give me now some fruits?" And then she said, "Yeah, I can give you, but you need to sit on my lap, and you need to